420 हो जाएं सावधान। अब शुरू हुआ एक नया अभियान, कोई भी कहीं से घुमा सकता है ये नंबर
1811
4000। तोल में हो गड़बड़ और दाम भी हो बढ़कर, या किसी तरह की और गड़बड़, तो घुमाइए ये नंबर
1811
4000। यही कंज्यूमर हेल्पलाइन।
जागो ग्राहक जागो।
All right, of course, the important question is that all this comes under the purview of one very important act, which is awaiting some kind of clearance. And today, of course, the clearance has been given by the Lok Sabha, the clearance has been given by the Rajya Sabha. We are talking about the Food Safety and Standards Bill. It's just awaiting the assent of the President. So, where do we go from here, and is that bill all pervasive? Is that all that we're looking for before we can have at least that hygienic Golgappa? That's the question we're going to be asking today. With me in the studios to answer that, well, we've got S.R.Khanna of Consumer Voice. Well, that's one organization that's been raising its voice for the safety of food and drinks in this country. Also joining us, most importantly, is the Minister for Food Processing, the all-important man, Subhodh Sahai, from his office. Thank you, sir, for joining us. First of all, your views on the entire cola controversy. It's been come out in the open. The opposition said that nothing has been done, or whatever has been done has not been enough. Your defense, sir. Mr. Sahai, can you hear me? All right, we'll try and get across to Mr. Sahai. Your views on the matter.
You see, this bill is not going to make a difference to what you and I eat in the market. In fact, this bill is a softer bill than the law which exists today, the Prevention of Food Adulteration Act, where there is a mandatory 6-month jail sentence for anything unadulterated put in food.
All right, let me just ask the Minister, we finally got across to Mr. Sahai. The first issue is, of course, about the cola war. It doesn't directly come under well, any ministry, because there are 9 ministries involved when it comes to food. You're one of them in food processing. What's the government's defense against the NDA walkout today and all the allegations that you have a standard food bill in place which has not been implemented?
No, you are right, because altogether the 16th law was for the food related, and you were rightly said the 9 ministry and all. So this was a contradictory for each other, and the offender were not able to be punished, even the consumers were not able to get the justice. So that's why the long pending, after the 50 years struggle, and for the last 3, 4, 5 years this going by to take out a law from the every ministry and make a integrated law. So finally it's happened yesterday, this both houses, you rightly said, passed. But at the same time, this whole, you are talking about the carbonated basic carbonate, this drinks, yes, sir, water, whatever say, this come under the PFA. Still the PFA has a standard for that. That is come under the Health Ministry. Health Ministry has also set up in the chairmanship of ICMR Director General, and they have still to come about the fixing of the standard.
Let me, sir, just bring out a very basic point. We've been arguing about pesticides in colas. We've also been arguing about the quantum of caffeine when it comes to cola products. It's evident that the caffeine content in cola products is way beyond what it should be. Also, India, this is for the viewers' benefit, is the only country that allows caffeine in non-cola drinks. That's one issue of debate. But the fulcrum point is actually water. Take a look at this graphic. That will, of course, will explain a lot of things as to what are the bane of the various problems you've been facing. Water is one of the biggest problems when it comes to the food bill. Now, water, of course, the issue is to bring municipal water under food law. Mr.Subhodh Sahai, could you answer us, in a country when we don't even have safe drinking water, I mean, water is the basic input for any output when it comes to food, be it food processing or even the coolers.
No, basically water doesn't come under the food. So because once the water, we must able to provide to the whole nation a safe and drinking water, because still the rural areas people are taking water from the river and the pond. So how can you bring under the law? But industrial activities water, who are saying the carbonated water if they are using and the drink and any juices, so they are responsible for making a standard water that should go to the consumer.
Just very
how whole water issue, one can campaign for a fresh water, clean water, but it is not under the people or the any law.
So that perhaps is the real problem. You have one law for something and one law for everything else. If you have a product whose input comes from water, and water is the source of the problem, how can you expect a clean output? Could you explain that to us, sir?
No, but I feel that the group who are processing any article, they should ensure that whatever the water they are using, you know, even the common man who are getting the municipal tap water, they are trying to have again the aqua guard, again the heating of the water. Even the village, we say that people who take out from the pond, they boil their water and then they drink. So how can one will allow for industrial use, for processing use, a water from the without any yardage?
Right, so irony, big irony, water every day, not a single hygienic drop to drink, sir.
So the Honorable Minister is very correct. If a village well is giving contaminated water, the poor villager is not paying for that water, but is still boiling it, protect his health. Now if a 1,000 crore company is selling colas in the market, they have the technology, they have the resources to bring the pesticides to the level of the standard which their parent companies in their countries do, and which the BIS standard says. Only now it has not become mandatory to lower the pesticide unit level. But the company which is taking my money should be worried about my health. The company can't say that because the well water is contaminated, you have to drink pesticides.
All right, so it all boils down to some kind of standards to be maintained by everybody. No, it boils down
to the responsibility of the board of directors of the Pola companies. These guys who are getting fat salaries, these guys who are marketing the campaigns in the public should have concern for public health. I'm not going to drink a cola. I'll have nimbu pani, sharbat, juice. Why pesticide cola?
All right, concern is fine. At some point of time, there has to be some standards. Who sets those standards? Let's take a look at the standard recipe which has been set for you and me.
You may finally be able to relish hygienic golgappas, not just in select restaurants, but also at your favorite Nukkar outlet. This is the intent of Parliament, which passed the ambitious Integrated Food Bill on Wednesday. The bill seeks to integrate into one common law all the 13 food laws that are currently enforced by 9 different ministries. A new body, Food Safety and Standards Authority of India, would be created to monitor and ensure the quality of food articles sold. The government says the authority will boost employment and usher in international standards in food safety.
Any processed food, if he is getting, he is secured that it has gone through a quality taste and check and process. So, and other part, the industries licensing system was centralized. Now we have decentralized this licensing system up to the panchayat. Even the thelawalas and other hawkers, if they are selling something, they have to register themselves.
The bill proposes to regulate compensation against substandard or adulterated food as well. Compensation in case of death from adulterated food, for instance, will not be less than 5 lakh rupees. The manufacturer of such food articles will be fined up to 5 lakh rupees. Misleading branding can lead to a fine of up to 3 lakh rupees, and selling substandard food will result in a fine of up to 2 lakh rupees. Of course, it will be up to the courts to decide the extent of liability in each case, but it is hoped that justice will now be swifter. It is proposed that the victim should get compensation within 6 months, and in case of death, family members should get compensation within a month. companies associated with food business may be in for greater liability once the integrated food bill comes into effect. Because from the very onset, the liability of the company and its officials has been set. Kumar Deep, Headlines Today, New Delhi.
All right, so there you are, the new food bill that's up on the take, up to be served to you. Well, some call it a recipe for regulation, some call it a recipe for disaster. Now, we'll of course debate that today on Mr. Let's first take a look at the big question which really hangs on the bill, the question which once again comes back to us, and that is, who is the authority? Coming up. There you are. Who is the authority? Now, out of the panel which has been set up for food standards, out of the 51 people, only one person is there actually from the industry. We have as many as 42 bureaucrats. Well, let's now go across to the Minister, Mr.Subhodh Sahai, and ask him that as to how you can actually regulate an industry which thousands of crores with only one representative, sir, out of 51 on your panel.
No, I think you are just not fully aware, because there is a 4-layer system. One is the food authority. This is the regulatory authority where 7 non-officials are there: industry, consumers, farmers, and others like that, and 3 scientists is there. They are also not official. So out of 23, 10 are non-official. And the second layer is an advisory panel where more than 30 is obviously the food commissioner of every state is going to participate. There are also 7-member non-officials are there. And then the third layer is a scientific panel who are going to fix up the standard for the future food habit-oriented consumers.
Right. The other debate.
So I think we have given maximum. Right. Maximum we have given. I can say that people's participation is also.
Right. Of course, the other debate is that there are just too many layers in the cooking of that food bill. Let's take a look at one of the good parts of the food bill, and that is the numerous industries, the numerous ministries have now been curtailed to one, and so have the many acts. Take a look at this graphic, and that will tell you the number of ministries you had to go through before when it came to the food industry. You are too many cooks. They've obviously spoiled the broth. There are as many as about 7 to 9 industries. We've named some of them in terms of laws, the various laws of the various years. I mean, some of the names, of course, you'd never remember in your life. There they are coming up on your screen. And that's what really confused and dissuaded people from actually entering this entire field of food processing. Now, this seems to have been taken care of. Is the industry satisfied, sir?
No, the industry is probably popping bottles of champagne today.
All right.
Because they have lobbied for this bill.
You get clean water and champagne also.
Obviously, no. They want champagne because it is mainly the industry which wanted this bill. Yeah. And the Honorable Minister is the Minister for Food Processing Industries. Right. He did give them this champagne bottle, and so they are celebrating today. Right. As far as the consumers are concerned, we are a little wary and doubtful.
Why?
Because the food processing industry, the production is going to be consumed by consumers. Right. There may be a few hundred manufacturers, but there are millions of consumers. There's 1 billion consumers in India. Who is going to look after their health? Naturally, it is not the job of the food processing ministry to look after the health of consumers. It's the Ministry of Health job.
So you want 7 ministries?
No. There are never 7 ministries. Whatever information is being made out by you on the screen is wrong, because even after this bill, there will be 1 ministry implementing, and all the other ministries will have still something to do. And we are of the view that the only ministry that is competent to protect the consumer's health is the Ministry of Health. Ministry of Food Processing is an industry promotion ministry.
Let's put that on to Mr. Sahai himself. This entire bill, as per what, well, one representative of the consumer says, it should fall under the Health Ministry and not under yours of food processing. Yes, sir.
No, I think my friend is not aware, and he's just not aware about the fact of the bill. This first time the consumers is going to get a single. He doesn't know that in 9 ministry is directly involved, and there was a 16 law, 16 inspector were behind the industry. So 9 ministry and the 16 inspector, 16 law. So this is the factual. And this is all now there will be the one law, one inspector and one regulatory authority from down the line up to the panchayat. And second thing about the consumers, first time consumers is going to get compensation from the manufacturer. First time any consumers can take out any article and they can say, Kisab, we want to be tested in the lab.
Wonderful
so that
point.
facility is being given.
Consumers
will have a one reference point. One reference point. So how can you say we have kept out the vendors, we have kept out all a small processor, this all thelawalas and jhuggiwalas, this
right.
all been kept out, which was under the previous
right, sir. Your point is taken.
And this whole thing, Chetan, listen.
Yes, sir.
Chetan, listen to me. This whole today's law was under the purview of the health ministry, and the other things was there.
Right.
So far, what he is saying, this sector is a just 2 to 6% processing sector.
Fine, sir.
Why this is not still? Why this is happening still, which is not being looked after properly?
Right, so we get your point. We've got the advantages. We've got a new recipe on hand. Of course, the question is, of course, you have a lot of bad cooks. The question is, how will you go about book the bad cook? That's what we'll serve you in just a moment. Stay with us. Welcome back. We are thinking about the new food bill, which of course is now awaiting the assent of the President. It has been passed by both houses of Parliament, and that's why it's given all of us food for thought. Let's take a look at some of the issues where the major objections have been made, why they are calling the new food bill perhaps a recipe for disaster. There you are, registrations. There are just too many of them, and that somewhere down the line will lead to corruption by panchayats. Of course, the step-by process has been reduced, but perhaps too much has been given in the hands of the panchayats. Inspector Raj, well, Mr.Subhodh Sahai was telling us that will come down, but somewhere down the line people feel that the complaint should be reviewed by a panel. In fact, just by replacing a food inspector by a food health inspector is not going to be enough. The Inspector Raj will simply continue. Then the issue of punishments. Well, that again is something to be dealt with. There should be a reform process, not a punitive action. We've seen lots of small people who, with small complaints, small faults, being booked for a lot of amount. And then finally, the question, of course, is who is responsible? Let's say, for example, in case of a person who's found a fly in his drink, who's responsible? Is it the CEO of the company? Is it the manager of the company or the supervisor of the company? Let's now bring about some of those questions, of course, to the Minister. So first up, when we are talking about punishments, right now there are 86,000 cases that are pending in the courts awaiting judgment for over 11 years, and most of them are for small actions. Well, I'll give you one case in point. One person has been booked for putting 0.5% more oil in a pickle. That's the kind of complaints that have been held up, for which punitive action is being awaited. Is that fair?
Yes. Hello?
Is that fair, sir?
Hello?
Sir, can you hear me?
Yeah, yes, basically you are right that the situation is like that today. So that's why we have divided the whole punishment in a 3-4 layer. That a punishment which is marginally you can say that they are not maintaining their standard and other thing, they will be having a adjudication and the compounding system by the proper authority. And the injurious to health and up to the death, that will be go to the High Court and the Supreme Court, so that no judicial burden should be on the name of just sending all cases to the judiciary. In the meantime, I can say that there is a 4-layer fine also, from 1 lakh up to the 10 lakh, from 6 months to the life imprisonment.
Right, sir.
So how can even the inspector who is going to be accountable more if they are filing any false cases.
So my
will be fined
question to you is very simple. What if tomorrow I am consuming a cold drink and I find that something is contaminated? Now, who is responsible for that? Is it the CEO of the company? Is it the manager of the company? Is it the supervisor? Is it the person? Is the quality control inspector? Who are you going to book?
Basically, a designated official, not a smaller, but the in charge of the establishment. In charge of the establishment, because the one company is having so many places, different establishments. So we have made a designated man, not a smaller, but in charge of a establishment.
All right, one final question. We're completely running out of time, and that is from where we started off. Can you tell us how early will it be before we can actually look forward to having the hygiene Golgappas?
I think we are having two parts. I tell you, one who are not coming in the purview of this law, who are not being asked to take a license. In that, they are just going to be registered in the municipality and the panchayat. And the second, we are having a massive campaign program for the street vendor, for the street food seller, how they should have a hygiene life and healthy life, and how they should supply.
Can you just answer me a simple question?
A parallel campaign.
A simple question. It's been 3 years, sir,
Yes.
since I've not had Golgappas, simply because I don't trust the water. When can I have it?
Yeah. No, you will have it. I think it's more or less for the water. You have to campaign more for a hygiene water and a clean water.
All right.
And the government, that's why not bringing in the law.
Right. All right.
But so far the Golgappa is concerned, you will get up to by the end of this year.
I haven't got the time which I was wanting, the time factor, but we are running out of time. Thank you, sir, for talking to us, giving us some time and sharing your views with us on the very important food safety bill which has been passed by both houses of the parliament. It now waits the assent of the President. Thank you, sir, for coming and giving us the consumer voice. It's a pleasure talking to you. There you are. That's BIS Today for today. Thanks for watching. It's really high time that we go high on hygiene. Bye-bye.